It is the hottest afternoon of the year, and you are standing in front of the open ice box just to feel the cool on your face. The air conditioner is running hard, and the house is still warm, and you already know what the bill will be. So you tell yourself, this is just what summer costs now. And you shut the icebox door, and you go sit in front of the one machine doing all the work, and you wait for the sun to go down. For thousands of years, in places far hotter than where you live, folks kept a whole room cool through the worst heat of the day with no machine at all. No electric, no compressor, just the air, the water, the shade, and an understanding of how heat moves that we have very nearly forgotten. They did not have a machine to lean on, so they had to be cleverer than we are, and the cleverness still works. I am Earl Dean. Today I'm going to show you the old way to cool a room with no power. Sit with me a while. One thing before I begin, there is far more of this old know-how than fits in any one video, so I gathered the whole of it into a book at my website, earldeanbook.com, for the folks who want the long version. 99 methods, all in one place. I will not mention it again. If you want it, you know where to look. Now, the cool room. Most folks fight the heat backwards. They wait until the house is hot, then try to cool it down. The old folks did the opposite. They kept the heat out in the first place, and they worked with the cool that the night gave them for free. It is a whole different way of thinking about a hot day, and it costs nothing but paying attention to the clock. There are 4 parts to it. Move the air, wet the air, block the sun, and mind the timing. Let me take them one at a time. The first part is moving the air, what the old folks knew as cross-ventilation, and it is the foundation of the whole thing. A closed-up room with the windows shut bakes like an oven, because the hot air just sits there with nowhere to go. Getting hotter. But open a window on one side of the house, and another window on the opposite side, and the air does not just sit anymore. It moves. It flows in the cool side, and out the warm side, and it carries the heat right out the far window with it. A moving breeze through a room can make it feel a good many degrees cooler than a still one, even when the thermometer reads the same, because moving air carries the heat off your skin the way it carries it out the window. But there is a craft to it, and this is what the old builders knew. You want the air coming in low on the shaded, cooler side of the house, and going out high on the far side, because hot air rises. The old houses had their windows set just so, and their tall ceilings, and their transoms, those little windows up above the doors, so the hot air gathered up near the ceiling could escape, while the cool air slid in down low. Some old houses had a cupola, a little tower up top, for the very hottest air to climb up and out of. They built the whole house to breathe. You do not need to rebuild your house. You need to find your cross breeze. Open a window low on the cool shaded side, the north side, or wherever the sun is not beating, and open one high on the opposite side. And if the breeze is shy, set a fan in the far, warm window, blowing out, not in. That pulls the whole room's hot air out behind it and draws the cool air in across the room. A fan blowing out a window does far more than a fan just stirring the air in the middle of the room. That is the part most folks get wrong. The second part is wetting the air, and this is the old trick that feels almost like magic the first time you try it. When water turns from wet to dry, when it evaporates, it drinks heat out of the air to do it. That is why you feel cold stepping out of a creek on a breezy day. Even in summer, the old folks put that to work. In the dry heat, they would hang a wet sheet or a damp blanket right in the doorway or the open window where the breeze came through. The air had to pass through that wet cloth to get into the room, and as it did, it gave up its heat to dry the cloth, and it came into the room cooler than it went in. A wet sheet in the doorway and a breeze behind it could drop the air noticeably on a hot, dry day. They would wet it again as it dried, morning and afternoon, and that was their air conditioner, run on a bucket of water and the wind. And here is the honest part, and I will always give you the honest part. This one only works where the air is dry. In dry country, the Southwest, the high plains, the desert, a wet sheet works wonders because the dry air is thirsty and drinks the water right up and takes on the chill doing it. But where the air is already heavy and damp, down south, along the coast, in a muggy summer, the air cannot hold any more water, so the sheet will not dry. And you get no cooling, only a damp room that feels worse. So know your air. If your summers are dry, the wet sheet is a gift. If they are muggy, skip it and lean on the other three. The third part is blocking the sun, and this is the one that does the most quiet work of all. Here's a thing most folks never think about. The heat in your house in the afternoon did not mostly sneak in through the air. It came in as sunlight, pouring through the windows and beating on the roof and the walls, where it soaked in and turned to heat. Stop that sunlight before it ever gets in, and you have stopped the heat at its source. It is far, far easier to keep the heat out than to chase it back out once it is in. So the old folks shaded the house. They planted a tall tree on the south and west sides, the sides the hot afternoon sun comes from, so the house sat in shade through the worst of the day. They built deep porches and wide eaves and overhangs that put the windows in shadow. They hung shutters and closed them against the midday sun, and inside, they drew the shades and the heavy curtains on the sunny side. So what light did reach the glass bounced back out instead of coming in to cook the room. A window with the afternoon sun full on it is like a little stove sitting in your wall. Shade it, outside if you can, and you have turned the stove off. Before I go on to the fourth part, let me pause a moment. Every home has its leaks. The heat pouring in through an unshaded window is one, but there is also the food going to waste, the water, the electric bill, the things that break and get bought twice. In my savings manual, I walk you through finding and fixing every one of them. 99 methods, the old way, with your own two hands. The link is down in the description. Now the fourth part, and it ties all the rest together. The fourth part is the timing. And this is the secret the old folks understood in their bones that we have forgotten entirely. You open the house up at night, and you seal it shut at noon. The exact opposite of what most folks do. Think on how a day actually goes. The night is cool. The day is hot. So here is what the old folks did. All through the cool of the night, they threw the windows wide and let that cool night air pour through the whole house, flushing out the day's heat, and they let it soak into the floors and the walls. Then, early in the morning, before the day began to heat up, they shut the windows tight and pulled the shades, and they sealed all that cool inside, and the house, full of cool night air, with the sun blocked out, would coast through the hot afternoon staying cool on what it had stored, while the world outside baked. Come evening, when the outside air dropped below the inside again, they opened it all back up and let it flush and recharge for the next day. That is the whole rhythm of it. Open at night to drink the cool. Seal at noon to keep it. Most folks today do it exactly backwards, throwing the windows open in the hot afternoon to get some air, and letting all the heat of the day pour straight in. You have to fight your instinct on this one. When it is hottest outside, that is exactly when you keep the house shut up tight. And this works best when the house has something to hold the cool, what the builders call thermal mass. A floor of stone or tile or brick, a thick wall, anything heavy and solid. Through the night, all that mass soaks up the cool like a sponge, soaks up water. Then through the hot day, it slowly gives that cool back into the room, holding the house steady against the heat outside. It is the same reason a stone church or an old cellar stays cool on the hottest day. The mass remembers the cool of the night and parts with it slow. If your house has a tile floor or a brick wall, keep it shaded and let it do its quiet work. That is your battery, charged with cool every night, spending it all afternoon. Now put the four together and see how they work as one. Through the night, you open the house wide and let the cool air flush through, cross-ventilating, soaking the cool into the floors and walls. At dawn, you seal it up tight and pull the shades, trapping that cool and blocking the sun. Through the hot day, the shaded mass gives back its stored cool, and if your air is dry, a wet sheet in the one window you crack takes the edge off the breeze. And come evening, you open it all up again to recharge. 4 simple things. No machine, no bill, working together the way they worked for thousands of years. Now let me be honest with you, the way I always will be, because I will not send you off thinking this is something it is not. This is not an air conditioner. It will not give you a cold house on the worst day of a heat wave the way a machine will. What it does is take the edge off. It will keep a room a good many degrees cooler than it would be otherwise, and on most hot days, that is the difference between comfortable and miserable. But in a brutal stretch, when the nights stay hot and the air is thick and still, there's only so much these old ways can do, and there is no shame in running the machine then. The right way to think of it is this. You do these 4 things first, every day, for free, and they carry you through the bulk of the summer, and you save the machine for the few worst days when nothing else is enough. Do that, and you will run that air conditioner a fraction as much as you do now, and your bill will show it. And here is why nobody taught you any of this. There is no money in telling a man to open his windows at night and plant a shade tree and hang a wet sheet in the doorway. There's a great deal of money in selling him a machine and the electric to run it. The old houses were built to cool themselves, with their deep porches and tall ceilings and windows set to catch the breeze. And then cheap electric came along, and we stopped building them that way, and a whole generation of builders forgot how. Nobody profits by reminding you that a house can cool itself. So nobody reminds you. That is not a conspiracy mind. It is simpler than that. So, I am reminding you. So, here's what I want you to do this week. Tonight, before bed, open a window on 2 opposite sides of the house and let the cool night air flush through. Then in the morning, before it heats up, shut them and pull the shades on the sunny side. Just that. Just the timing. And see how your house feels by mid-afternoon. Then, if your air is dry, try the wet sheet in the breezeway and feel the difference. Do it where your children can see and tell them why, because that is how this knowledge comes back. Tell me in the comments where you live and whether your summer nights cool down or stay warm, because that decides how much of this will work for you. And if your grandmother had a way of keeping the house cool before there was air conditioning, the shade trees, the shutters, the cellar she sent the children to in the heat, share it, because those old ways vanish when nobody writes them down. I read every single one. Next time, since we have been speaking of keeping cool, I am going to show you the old way folks kept food cold in the heat of summer with no ice box at all. The screen box cooler on the shaded porch that ran on nothing but a breeze and a bit of wet cloth. It is the natural next step after today. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Keep the simple things close. They were never half so foolish as they looked. I am Earl Dean. I will see you next time.